Today, as we look to the future with Lafayette's new comprehensive plan, it is appropriate to look back to the past to see how far we've come and to remind ourselves how we've changed and will continue to change as a community. Lafayette was founded nearly 200 years ago as Vermilionville in 1821 on land owned by the Jean Mouton family. As this first initial plat shows, many communities in the South with a Catholic tradition were built around the church. The Moutons donated the land for the first St. John Cathedral. The pictures of St. John's Cathedral here show the Flemish influence and the Dutch design. Interestingly, St. Genevieve Church on the Evangeline Thruway was taken from the plans of the St. John Cathedral. Downtown has always been the center of activity in Lafayette's history. Notice these original pictures have cars, but no paved streets, no buses. This early 1928 photograph of the Huey P. Long motorcade shows the Gordon Hotel on the back left-hand side. Some of the same buildings built in the early 1920s continue to serve the citizens of Lafayette. This aerial 1924 view of downtown Lafayette shows the focal point of General Alexander Mouton, Civil War hero and governor of the state of Louisiana, Lafayette's most famous citizen. The statue continues to serve today, and the old City Hall was built behind it. This 1908 photograph of the Vermilion River shows the interstate highway of the 1900s. Most travel to Lafayette was done through the river. But like many places in America, the railroad really drove early Lafayette. What became a thriving community was once just a small backwater village. This 1910 photograph of the Pinhook Bridge shows the importance of the waterway travels and the way that communities developed and commerce was conducted. The railroad coming to Lafayette in the late 1800s and early 1900s brought commerce and foreigners. That means non-Cajuns. The Southern Pacific Railroad Depot serves today as the Rosa Parks Transportation Center. Founded in 1898 by the 1920s Southwestern Louisiana Institute of Liberal and Technical Learning, now known as UL, had begun to grow into a sprawling campus near downtown. This snowball fight in front of Martin Hall, which still exists today, shows some of the students at play in an open-air car in the background. Many of the buildings from downtown still survive today. The Evangeline Hotel and the Daily Advertiser building are still used today as places of commerce. This 1947 photograph shows B's Grocery, which is at the corner of Souvenir Gate and St. Patrick. Today it still serves as Champon's Grocery. By the 1930s, Maurice Hyman had built a brick building store and had quite an operation. Lafayette is well known for many Jewish merchants who were quite successful in the Lafayette area. By the 1950s, Mardi Gras was in full-blown form and parades paraded down Jefferson Street for years. This tradition continues today. By the 1960s, Lafayette now had the most advanced brick-paved streets in Acadiana. The Evangeline Hotel continues to house people today who live in subsidized apartments. By 1955, Jefferson Street required an underpass to accommodate the railroad, which still was the main means of transportation to and from Lafayette. This early photo shows the corner of Pinhook Road and St. Mary Boulevard. The house in the foreground of the picture is today's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. The circular driveway in the background shows North Mall Street and former Lafayette Mayor and United States Congressman Bob Mouton's Mouton Gardens, which today is a very exclusive private subdivision. In the 1950s, Maurice Hyman began developing the Lafayette Oil Center. What was then an orchard would become the commercial center for oil and gas growth and the boom in South Louisiana, which began to stretch Lafayette outward. By 1968, Lafayette was blessed with its first mall, the Northgate Mall, which is on the Evangeline Thruway. You can note that all of this land that is now shown in this photograph has been completely built out and developed. This interesting photograph shows Bertrand Drive and South College Road. The building on the left is no longer here, was the Westwood Theater, Lafayette's first air-conditioned theater. The land in the left side of the picture houses Rouse's grocery store, and on the right you can see what is today the ShopRite gas station, and to the right of that is the Sidney Bowles Farm, which later became portions of Bayou Shadows Apartments, which are in the right background. This early photograph shows the corner of Johnston Street and South College Road, which became the South College Shopping Center, which was built in 1954. The UL Horse Farm is on the right side of this photograph. The small circular building in the foreground of this photograph served as the First National Bank. This photograph is a close-up view of the South College Shopping Center built by Mr. Clarence Landry. In the front foreground, you will see a Ferris wheel and a small circus which was brought by the Landrys to benefit the citizens of Lafayette, but also to bring shoppers to his shopping center. All the land in the background that you see has been commercially developed into a banking and real estate empire that the Landrys still run to this day. The Lafayette that we know now looks very different from the one of past generations, but the one thing that will remain constant is that we will continue to change.